Hi, I'm Ken Kaplan. I'm a dream interpretation specialist. And in this video, I want to talk about the brilliant intelligence of the dreaming mind. In order to understand dreams, we have to have a foundation to understand the nature of dreams and that aspect of self that creates them. For many people, the idea that the dreaming mind is an intelligence, a highly exceptional intelligence, is hard to fathom. Dreams seem random, they seem bizarre, they seem strange. How could they possibly contain a coherence and an intelligence that actually is put in us to serve us and to help us and to assist us in our healing and negotiating daily life? The most important thing to understand is that the dreaming mind has two basic functions. The first is it is revelatory. The dreaming mind has access to the complete unconscious, and that's where all our stuff is beyond what this part of us knows. And it will show to us in the greatest precision and detail exactly how we are thinking, feeling, and responding to events in our waking life, but also it will point us to where these issues started because it has access to the past and to every aspect of our psyche. Secondly, the dreaming mind actually has an intention as a healing mechanism in its intelligence. It seeks to integrate us to wholeness. Carl Jung understood this, and he understood that at the end of dreams, of many of them, they will seek to guide us toward the areas where we need to focus for solutions to our problems. The dreaming mind does this because it knows how to place symbols, aspects of symbols, scenes, and narratives symbolically in every aspect and place in the dream that will give us clues and reveal to us exactly what's going on. The problem for most people is this language is symbolic. It's not a native language to the intellect and the conscious mind, and therefore we don't understand it, and therefore we think there's nothing going on. I am going to give you two quick examples from people who had dreams in childhood that were recurring dreams that will illustrate what I'm talking about. In the first, I was talking to a woman on the phone, and she recounted to me a recurring dream she had in childhood. She was always walking up the side of a mountain, and it was beautiful, and the grass was green, the sky was blue. She came to a table that had a vase on it with flowers, and there was a canopy, and she could see the landscape perfectly and beautifully. She was enjoying herself immensely when suddenly a horrible avalanche started at the top of the mountain. It gathered in momentum with a great roar and savagely tore apart and destroyed everything in its path, including herself and the table she was sitting at. This was a dream that occurred quite often in her childhood. One of the most key aspects of dreams is understanding that they are a commentary on the waking life. And to fully understand them, you must know, or we must know, what is going on in the waking life to bridge to the dream to fully bring out its meaning. I'll talk about this in more depth in a later video. I knew immediately from my experience that something pretty profound was happening in her childhood. So I said, "What was going on in your childhood?" And she said, "My father would come home in drunken rages violently, and we would all have to hide in the closet to stay away from him." One can immediately see the parallel of the father's behavior in the waking life to the symbolic imagery in the dream of a horrible avalanche that with great fury and power and disruption would wipe away the innocence of childhood. The dream was pristine and amazing in showing in symbolic language the nature of what her feelings were in relationship to her father's rages. A second childhood dream from another person is equally illustrative. I was talking to a woman, and she said that she used to have a recurring dream around the time of 7, so around the time of about 14, in which a huge torrent of water would burst through a wall in the house and come roaring out, and the water would sweep away everything. And the place this always happened was in the fireplace. So as I talked to her about the dream, I knew that something was going on again in her childhood. And water is usually representative of emotion in dreams. In this case, it felt to me like the water represented suppressed emotion. I said, who in your life might have suppressed your voice or your desire to express yourself? And she said, my father. He was horrible in how much he squelched me and abused me and belittled me. Well, not only was the dream correct in the water, the repressed and the held back emotion breaking through in the dream, but also the dream occurred at the fireplace. She told me that the fireplace was her father's pet project. And he had spent hours putting it together from scratch, using the finest materials, and making sure everything was in proportion, and ornate, and just the way he liked it. The dreaming mind, her dreaming mind, knew that her father and her father's energy was the source of her suppression, and the suppression of her desires, her voice, and her ability to have herself heard, which was pretty severe. And therefore, the dream located explicitly the torrent of water breaking through at the fireplace, which represented her father. So the dream was completely suggesting and showing exactly where the source and what the issue was, which probably would have been difficult for her to do at 7 or 8 years old, because oftentimes with that level of abuse we block out or are not as consciously aware of the forces and dynamics of what's causing our behavior and our feelings. But the dreaming mind knew. It knew that suppressed emotion was the issue. It knew that anger was the issue that the water represented, and frustration. And it knew that it was this father was the source of the problem. In both cases, the dreaming mind knew exactly which symbols to use, where to place them, which would have the most value, the most pertinence, the most relevance to the situation at hand, and also the dynamics of how the narrative unfolded to demonstrate symbolically what was going on within the mind of the dreamer. Because dreams are not about other people, even though other people may be in the dreams. They're about our responses, our feelings, our belief about what is happening to us in this most vivid language. Now, one might ask, why does the dream do that? Why doesn't it just directly tell us? And the only reason I can say is that dreams exist in a realm where symbolic language is the norm. We have symbolic language in other forms of human expression, such as surrealism, or in art, like Picasso, or for instance, the music of Bob Dylan in his surrealistic phase. He was using surrealism and images to convey emotions, feelings, and actually particular perspectives. Dreams, for some reason, are built that way, and this is how they convey themselves. Therefore, it is up to us to learn the language. My job as being an expert in this, and I am, is to help people understand their dreams and understand the background and the language of dreams so that they can understand what an incredible aid and helper the brilliant dreaming mind is in revealing to us exactly what's going on with us so we can gain conscious control of unresolved issues and heal them. In future videos, I'm going to talk about more aspects of dreams, and I'm going to use more examples, particularly from dreams from an adult perspective, that give more complexity and show even more closely and deeply this intelligence, this remarkable genius intelligence of the dreaming mind.